Have you ever tried to create a color grade, but the colors just never flowed the way that you wanted them to? Well, you're most likely thinking that it's coming from the overall grade, which is being pushed in the color grading tab. But what if I told you that it's actually probably coming from the color mixer tab? That's right. I would say 90% of a color grade is actually created in the color mixer tab. It's really the starting point to where you're actually going to fit in your color grade to a specific color scheme, whether that's a complementary, split complementary, or monochromatic. Your colors in this tab should actually fit within a specific color scheme, but people find this challenging to do because they're not grouping their colors. And when I say grouping colors, I'm meaning pairing certain colors within a certain range in order to create one solid color. And what this actually does is it removes a lot of distractions from all these choppy colors that come into an image. But it's important to group your colors across each channel: the hue, saturation, and the luminance. You might still be feeling confused though, so I'm gonna take you into Lightroom and I'm gonna break this down step by step so that you can see it all in action. Okay, so I've dialed in the lighting just to save us some time, and so we're gonna jump right into the color mixer tab and we're gonna start managing and manipulating these colors so that they all fit, and we're gonna start thinking about this very logically, and so let's dive into it. So first, what I'm thinking is one dominant color. What dominant color is going to rule the scene? And you might remember me saying that from a previous video. And if you want to go check out why this matters for your photo, then I'm going to leave that video in the description below. But anyways, I'm choosing one dominant color that's going to rule the scene, and that is actually going to help me choose which colors to manipulate and what color scheme I'm going to choose. So for this shot in particular, it's actually very easy. I maybe should have chose a harder photo, but this one's super easy because I have blue and I have orange. So I could go a teal and orange look, very easy. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to group my blue colors and my orange tones. And so I'm going to fit within that color scheme, because when we have a complementary color scheme, we want to try and fit as best we can within those two colors. And so I'm going to adjust my blues to start. So first, I just want to know what these blue tones are affecting here. So I'm just going to push that around. Okay, so let's maybe push this somewhere a little bit more on this teal side of blue. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am just going to lower the saturation just because it's so distracting to the eye. Like, it's just really is aggressive. So I'm just going to bring that down, and we can always raise it later. But for right now, we're going to pull that down. Okay. And then let's check the teal. So where's the teal sitting? The teal is affecting also in the suit. So this is where we're going to start to see grouping. So when I think about grouping, I'm thinking, okay, does this tone within the teal also fit within the color of the blue? Okay, I'm seeing it mainly in like the shoulder here, but our blue is mainly in these darker tones here. So my objective is to try and create one solid color, because like we said, we don't want to create a distracting photo by creating separated colors. We want to keep everything very tight. And so what we're going to do is just shift this around, see what it's affecting, and I'm going to go more of a blue tone. Now, when I say grouping, I know some people might think, okay, this aqua slider needs to be in the same vicinity as the blue slider, like they need to be right aligned. That's not always true, because in order to achieve that blue, we also need to shift the aqua towards that deeper blue. And so it kind of is dependent on where you're going to match that original dominant color you wanted. So to get kind of this deeper blue, like what our blue slider is affecting here and what it's showing, I need to push this more towards that deep blue instead of aqua. And that's going to give me a very nice cohesive blue tone all throughout my photo. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to adjust my oranges. Now, how I'm going to figure out exactly what orange tone I need to push, let's go to the color grading tab, and I'm just going to give you a very simple and easy demonstration to figure out, okay, what tone should I be pushing for these oranges? And so how I'm going to figure that out is, okay, where is our blue sitting on this color spectrum? I would say it's sitting somewhere in this area here. Okay, and then what I need to do is push that orange tone opposite on the color spectrum. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because I'm creating that complementary color look. That's why I said we need to figure out what color scheme we're going to choose even before we go into our photo. And that's all based off of the colors that we have available to us for our photo. This one's just super easy to push a very easy complementary look. So I need to push in more of kind of this just straight orange tone. And in these oranges here in the dirt, in the sand, are looking a little bit too red to me. So I'm just gonna slide these oranges a little bit more towards that yellow. Okay, and then let's see what that yellow is affecting. Okay, it is also affecting this dirt. So now if I push this way, this dirt tone right in here is taking on some greens, which I don't want. I want this tone right in here to actually blend with these deeper orange tones, and that's gonna give me a really nice cohesive look. So I'm gonna grab this yellow slider, pull this over to the orange. Now I don't want to go too red with this because I could, but I'm going to keep it somewhere here. So now this yellow tone matches what's going on in this orange tone here. Now, because I don't want it so strong, I'm going to bring down the saturation a little bit. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. Okay, and then sometimes if the yellow was just as strong, then I want to manage the saturation on that yellow so that the saturation isn't too high in the yellow and then it's a little bit less in the orange. I want to keep those all on the same level. Okay, so now from this point, we can lower the luminance if we want to. So like I said, we are gonna go for the hue, saturation, and luminance. We're gonna pair our colors. So what I'm gonna do is maybe, let's try darkening the sky a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna remove a bit of saturation from that aqua just to balance with that blue tone. And so I'm just gonna remove a little bit more saturation on the blue. This is totally your call, however you wanna manage this. I'm just gonna go a little bit desaturated. Okay, now in terms of this yellow here, let's just leave that right where it is. And then for every other color and tone that's outside of our main colors, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to lessen the vibrancy of those colors. And so I'll show you what I'm meaning by that. So these pink tones here are very stark and they really pull our attention. Now, if you want to, you can keep them. It's not too distracting here, but in some cases it can be, especially if those pinks were somehow maybe in a spectator, which was off to the side. That can really become distracting. So what we want to do is we want to actually lower the saturation, and then we're going to lower the luminance as well. Now, what that's going to do is it's actually going to draw less attention because our eyes are most attracted to the most saturated and the brightest parts of a photo. So when we think about that in terms of color, we can lower the luminance, lower the saturation to draw less attention to those colors. And so that's just kind of a quick little hack for you. I'm just gonna interrupt quick and let you know that if you are looking to level up your color grades, I created an entire solution just for you called Color Grade Like a Pro. And because I wanna see you grow and level up in your photography, it's completely free at no charge. All you need to do is go check out the description below. All right, let's get back to the video. Okay, so now when we think about going into color grading, what I'm gonna do is I am going to match the tone that is already being created within my photo. So if I'm creating a complementary color scheme, what I'm going to do is push in those tones that are natural to the scene. And this scene is obviously a warmer scene, so I'm going to push in some of these same orange tones like what we chose at the start. Now, this looks too red, so I'm just going to push this up a little bit more, maybe just to figure out what tone I want. It's still looking too red. And right about here is where this is starting to match the dirt. Now, like I said, a color grade is going to flow naturally once we set up our color mixer tab. And like you can see, this becomes very easy. Once we just start pushing up the saturation in a color wheel, we can figure out what color is going to blend, because if we push all the way to the left, all the way to the right, kind of like those extremes, what you can actually do is find your place in the middle that blends with those original tones that are already in your photo. And that's why I said 90% of your photo is already set up in the color mixer tab. So from this point, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to desaturate here. And so now I'm getting a bit of warmth in those highlights, but it flows really naturally with the entire scene. So I'm just going to turn that off and turn that on. Now it's giving this really nice warm glow, but it's flowing in with the dirt. It's not super abrasive to the eye, because if we were to push more red, that looks off, right? Your eye knows that it's off. It doesn't blend well with the scene. And the only reason why is because we pushed in and determined what those tones would be before we even got into color grading. So once we start pushing to the left, okay, that tone fits, right? So you're seeing how when we group our tones and group our colors, saturation, luminance, all of this together, then we have solid colors that make it so easy for us to go into color grading and really shape our image. So let's just tidy this up, finish this up. So generally for the midtones, I'm going to push in that same color. So I'm just gonna push that up here. Okay, and that's a little bit too yellow, so I'm just gonna do that. So I'm usually pushing in the same tone as the highlights within the midtones, just kind of an easy way I've figured out that works well for color grading. So, and then for the shadows, I want these neutral blacks. So I want his helmet to be neutral black. So I'm gonna push opposite of the highlights to get those neutral blacks. Push that in, turn that off and on. Okay, this looks more neutral black. Okay, so if we turn this all off, turn that on, now this whole tone fits together. And like I said, we could go back into the color mixer tab. It's really dimming our blue, so let's just bring back a bit of blue. Now this whole tone, this whole vibe all fits together, and this shot looks so cool. So if you found this video helpful, let me know what resonated with you in the comments below. And if you're looking to continue to level up your color grades, I think that you'll really like this video. I'll see you over there. Peace.